Oh, okay. What's up, everybody? Let's talk NFL draft and let's talk the quarterbacks, right? So I was looking at kind of, okay, let's examine what happened last year. Last year you had number one quarterback, Caleb Williams, go to the Chicago Bears, and then you had the Washington Commanders drafting Jaden Daniels, right? And so a lot of people would say that Jaden Daniels is a better player because they went into the playoffs. And that observation on the surface level, you could be right about that. Now, here's the issue. Okay, the issue is, and this is what Shedeur Sanders and the 2025 quarterback draft class is going to be dealing with, and we're going to see this happen again, right? So Caleb Williams goes to the Chicago Bears, and he is now on his third quarterback. I think I made a video about this a while back, but it basically talked about it's not the player, it's the organization where they don't get any consistency, where you get this new young superstar. And Caleb Williams is a legit NFL quarterback, right? He's capable. I mean, he did it at USC. He's just he's really capable. And there's flashes that he displayed last year, but they had a really bad season. And I think part of it is because of the fact that the organization just doesn't have the continuity when it comes to this idea that they have to be consistent with their play, with who they have as like. So Caleb Williams needs consistency to develop as a top level franchise quarterback, right? So they basically burned a year. He's on his third head coach, which it's all signs say to boo. That's a bad sign, right? Very good quarterback, very capable, but he had too much disruption in his organization to allow him to be for there to be consistency, right? And then you flip the channel to Washington Commanders, where there wasn't really a high expectation of Jaden Daniels, but Dan Quinn comes from the Dallas Cowboys, where it turns out he was the reason why the Cowboys were very good. If you look at all the things that happened with the Cowboys, Dan Quinn leaving to becoming the head coach there, it seemed like he brought the wins that the Cowboys had for the last 3 or 4 years, winning 12 games in a row. 12 games in a season, like 3 years in a row or something like that. Jaden Daniels is a superstar. And I think a lot of the credit, obviously these players are very talented. Jaden Daniels is the same thing as Caleb Williams. Like their ability and quality, they're top level, franchise level quarterbacks. But when you look at what happened in the Washington Commanders, it's Dan Quinn bringing he settled down the organization and he got his young quarterback, and now they can build. So you see that they're off to the right start, and quarterbacks in the NFL don't get 4 years to develop. So these first 3 years, it's going to be make or break. And Caleb Williams burned a year with the Chicago Bears. It almost seems like it would be worth it for him to try to get out of that deal, right? Like to move on from that, because if it doesn't improve and they don't keep the same coaches and they don't develop them, and it's going to be difficult for him to get any consistency going, right? So let's fast forward to 2025 NFL quarterback draft class, right? So if you look at the top 10 quarterbacks, and this is a simple observation, right? So these quarterbacks, their rankings, like the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL draft class, they all can play in the NFL. They're all capable. You have the ranks of, Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. You have Cam Ward out of Miami, Jason Dart, Ole Miss, Quinn Ewers out of UT, University of Texas. And you have, the Alabama quarterback, Jalen Milroe, Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame, Will Howard, Ohio State, national champ, Kai McCord out of, Stanford, and Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. And Curtis Work out of University of Iowa. All those quarterbacks could play in the NFL. In those top 10 people, somebody's going to make it. Probably 2 or 3 quarterbacks will stick, right? And obviously you want to say that Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, maybe Jason Dart, and Quinn Ewers out of the top 4 guys could make it in the NFL, right? Because there's a recycling of the quarterbacks, and it's a legit thing, right? So of those 10 quarterbacks that are in the draft class, there's going to be a couple of diamonds in the rough. One of those lower 5 guys are going to make it. I don't know if they're going to start, but they're going to make it. That's just the way it works, right? Now, the projected number 1 quarterback is Shedeur Sanders. It depends on where he goes, right? Is he going to be the first pick? Is Cam Ward? You're not going to, people are going to judge this too, right? It's going to be a huge criticism because what happens with Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, you're not seeing that big of a difference in terms of their ability, right? Like it's like 99.2 and 99.5%. Like it's not huge thing. It's your preference, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? They're both quality. I see the similarities in Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams of the 2024 draft class. Those guys can make it for 10 years in the league. It just depends on if the organization believes in them and keeps it going, right? So you have the first pick, Tennessee Titans. The organization is always in flux, although they had Mike Vrabel for a bunch of years. You have the Cleveland Browns at number 2, the New York Giants at number 3, the New England Patriots number 4, Jacksonville Jaguars at number 5. Of those 5 picks, you're going to probably get 2 or 3 quarterbacks taken, because an effective quarterback can catapult your organization. That's just the way it works. Look at what happened with the Washington Commanders. You had a good head coach that got put in there, and he changed things around right away, because there's not a lot of leadway that they give these people. That's one of the observations, that when you see like Caleb Williams, he's on the hot seat, even though the organization is the one that messed up with the Chicago Bears, where he's on his 3rd coach and on his starting his 2nd year, right? It's not going to look good for him. And it's going to be very difficult for him to climb out of that hole of progression. And so it's the same thing with Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. Where are they going to go, right? And then you have the Raiders at number 6, the Jets at number 7. They just let go of Aaron Rodgers. Then you have the Carolina Panthers. I don't know that those 2 guys are going to last past the Jets. I don't know that. I don't know that the Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, they're going to go within the top 7 picks. They're not going to fall anything lower. So you look at all those organizations. The Jets let go of their head coach. The Raiders have a new head coach in Pete Carroll, who does not have a history of rebuilding the teams from scratch like that. He has a history of getting a team that's already kind of established and pushing them over the edge. That's what it is. He's not Pete Carroll from the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, is not a rebuilding guy. That's just the way it works, right? And then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're all over the place, right? They already have a quarterback, right? Then you have the Patriots. They're struggling. They've been struggling for the last 3 years, and now they don't even have the great Bill Belichick no more. Then you have the Giants. They're the Giants. All those teams, then we have the Browns, which, are they going to keep Baker Mayfield? I like Baker Mayfield, but is he going to be good enough for that? So anyways, all these organizations have a history of just being in flux all the time. And the problem is that it doesn't do well for the quarterbacks and for rookie quarterbacks. They can go in there. It's proven now in the NFL that a guy like Jaden Daniels, if you have a good enough system and you have a good enough stable kind of environment, you could win some games. You don't have to have all the pieces in place. It doesn't have to be perfectly ran, but you could get some victories in there. And Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders proved it. As a rookie quarterback, he performed amazing. Conversely, the Caleb Williams things, the reason why I keep going back to those 2, because you're going to see parallels in Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. They're both capable quarterbacks. The question is, are they going to end up with the organization? Tennessee Titans, Cleveland Browns, New York Giants, New England Patriots, Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Las Vegas Raiders, or the New York Jets, maybe. One of those guys goes to number 7. Everybody messed up in 106, and that'll be indicative of why those teams keep staying in the basement. Now, the Raiders made kind of the biggest splash and move so they can improve, and I think it's possible that they can maybe move up, but I don't see that happening. But I think that Shedeur Sanders, where they go, is going to determine, and if the coaching and the organization is stable, you're going to see Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. You're going to see their careers parallel to what you saw in Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels from the 2024 NFL rookie quarterback draft class, right? And of those 10 quarterbacks that I mentioned at the beginning, there's going to be somebody that's going to make it too. The top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL draft, they have the ability, they have it. It's just an issue of, are they going to end up in an organization? Now, the bottom, like say the last, 8 through 10, they might not be in a starting role. They might be in a team that's already established, but they have a good opportunity too. See, the first 3 or 4 quarterbacks that get taken in the draft, and this is what's interesting, they're going to have a hard time because those are going to be the teams that have a history of having a hard time just winning, right? But those quarterbacks that go in the later in the draft, they're capable, but they might be going into a good situation. Like say a Philadelphia Eagles gets them a quarterback. Now they have the Kansas City Chiefs, because it's just the way it works, right? Any of these good the Baltimore Ravens, right? If one of these quarterbacks, and I didn't see anybody that stuck out in terms of like being like a Lamar Jackson type, but you can have somebody that can maybe mold into that, and maybe it could be a good opportunity. However, it's all up in the air. We'll see in the draft. But I think that Shedeur and Cam Ward, you're not going to make a mistake drafting those two guys. But how's the organization going to create a stable environment? And you're not going to be always flipping over coaches, which is going to make it look like they're not that good. But anyways, what do you guys think? Like, subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.